Yeah, my name is Daniel Briggs. I wanted to go ahead and present my growth mindset plan that I've created. Okay, so I want to talk about Carol Dweck for a second in her book. She talks about 4 steps that are important um, to basically obtaining this growth mindset goal. Step number 1, she says, learn to hear your fixed mindset voice. So, uh, you know, you have to know when you are thinking with a fixed mindset, when you are closed off from everybody else, kind of not, you don't want to listen to anybody perhaps, and you basically you're not progressing in any way with this fixed mindset. So you have to first learn to hear that voice, and this is going to enable you to recognize that you have a choice. Um, you know, do I want to follow this path of a fixed mindset, or do I want to go over here with a growth mindset? Step number 3 is talk back to it with a growth mindset voice. So it's really like a little battle, right? So you have to battle that fixed mindset and try to conquer it and come out, with a growth mindset. And step 4 is just take the growth mindset action, just do it. Um, once you've won the battle, just go and do and change how you're thinking. So my plan is that eventually my goal is to be first an assistant principal and then later on as a hopefully a principal. So the assistant principal, this plan is made, primarily geared towards that role, although, some of the same things will be applied if I become a principal. So this is, like I said, my growth plan that I have created. So the first question in making this plan is I'm gonna take us through about 6 questions here. So the first one is, why is the growth mindset so important? Well, going back to Carol Dweck and the book that we're reading, she talks about the power of yet. And, she talks about how important it is that, for example, with students, that we, don't necessarily, when they get a grade, we're like, oh, you failed. But rather we're saying something like, not yet. And so, anyways, so that's important because that's kind of more of a growth mindset, is the power of yet. Uh, in a video that we watched, and I reference here later in my references, she said that we're all on a learning curve, and this is the growth mindset idea, is that we continue to grow and we continue to learn. She also said that this whole idea of the growth mindset is a path into the future. And so I think of it as really is really helping us progress towards specific goals and helping us obtain that which will help us to have a very successful future. And then the last thing I think, why a growth mindset, I think it just gives you confidence, right? And I think of my students, and I even think of myself, is if I have that type of, mindset, I'm going to have confidence that I can accomplish, my goals, and that I'm going to continue to progress and learn, and that's the main thing. So this power of yet idea is something very interesting, and is very it can be applied to many different aspects, I know, of my own life and of all of our lives, really. Okay, the second question that I want to answer is, how will I incorporate the 4 steps in my plan? these 4 steps are quite important. So I think the way that I would incorporate these in my plan is, I think, number one, I need to always see them. So they need to be hanging up on my wall, on my computer, somewhere where I'm always seeing them and I always read them. And if I do that, I think I make these 4 steps a part of me and who I am. And eventually they'll become a natural kind of thing. But I think just having the knowledge of these 4 steps and always reviewing them, I think they will become part of my plan, because I'll always be asking these questions. I'll be looking for that, to hear that fixed mindset, recognize it, kick it out of my head, and replace it with a growth mindset, and take that road. Question number 3: how will I communicate the message of yet to others? This is an important one, because as an assistant principal in the future, I'm going to have to communicate not yet. And I'm going to have to be working with teachers. And so I'm going to really have to, communicate that to the teachers in the best way that I can. And I think really it's primarily through modeling, right? People watch you, and I know, because as a teacher I watch my APs and I watch my principal, and I seek for guidance through them. And so in many cases they're going to look up to you. And so I'm going to try to help them model this, and to help them to have the confidence, and help them grow, because even teachers and assistant principals, all of us are still growing. So I think it's primarily trying to help them understand the idea, and of course they can pass that on to students. Before we talk about students, I think this growth mindset and communicating not yet goes further than just teachers. It extends really to parents and to the community. I think that helping to have the teachers and parents understand this concept and apply it to the parents, even their kids at home, can really help and assist in the process to being successful. And lastly, of course, the students, and this is just going to have to be applied as an assistant principal. Of course, I'll have a role to go in and to observe teachers and try to help them, and to communicate this mindset. But I'm also going to be having communication with the students, and so as an assistant principal, I can also encourage the students to have this type of mindset through praising them for the process. Carol Dweck actually mentions this in a video that we watched, again, that I referenced at the end of this presentation. But she said that praising the process of something is important. And so I think, as an assistant principal, I could have that effect on the students, and hopefully the teachers and parents will also have that effect on the students through me modeling to them this same type of growth mindset. Next question: what resources will I use to promote the growth mindset? And I thought about this a little bit, and there's many different resources, but some things that came to mind were, first off, the book, right, that Carol Dweck wrote. It's a fascinating book. I haven't read the whole thing yet, but I continue to read it. So I think this is one resource. It could be for the teachers, for the administration as well, and to try to capture this idea of the growth mindset. Another resource would be parents, right? And I mentioned this in my last slide. is maybe having a night, family type night or parent night, that we can present this whole idea of growth mindset to the parents, so that they can get better, at home with their kids, and hopefully the parents can take on this growth mindset and pass this along to their kids as well. Teacher development would be another resource. So trying to help the teachers, might be able to do some teacher development and present this idea to them. That's another resource that we have. Maybe using this book, doing maybe a presentation, putting some videos, and that's why I put the YouTube up there. And really this can be representing all of the internet. There's lots of things about the growth mindset out there, and the videos are fairly good as far as motivational. And so I think between these resources, I think this would really help to promote the growth mindset. Next question number 5: when and how often will I promote the growth mindset? I think that this one is a given. When this question is asked, this is the only thing I came up with my slide: forever and always. This is something that's ongoing. As I mentioned before, just have to try to use, as those 4 steps that I talked about, just really try to recognize in every situation, try to get better. And I think as you do, as you try to use this idea of growth mindset, I think it becomes part of you. And I'm thinking that you automatically do it. It's more of a natural thing than having to think about it. Which, if that is the case, that's an amazing thing. So anyways, I will continue using this in every aspect of as assistant principal / principal with the teachers, parents, students, and myself. Just trying to have that same type of mindset. All right, and finally we reach to the end here. Question 6. How will the growth mindset influence or impact the way I approach my work in this course and the program? So this was a fairly interesting question, and I really started thinking about this, and this is what I came up with. So this is kind of me, where I started, and going back to 2010, I started teaching in 2010, and moving further up here the stairs, if you will, in 2014, that's when I decided to start the Lamar program, and getting a master's degree. But the following year, things got kind of tough. I moved schools. I was a little bit behind with my hours and things like that, research paper. And so if you look at 2015, this is when I kind of stopped. I just kind of fell out of the program. And if you look further in 2016, 2017, up until 2018, this year, I returned to Lamar. So it took me a few years, or a couple of years, to return. And so as I thought about this question that was posed of how will the growth mindset influence or impact the way I approach my work in this course and the program, at times when I dropped out, I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed, like I couldn't get the master's degree, that it just wasn't going to happen. And it was hard. And so in reality, I felt like I was done. But I think, even without even realizing it, before I started reading, this book and taking this course right now, I think I recognized that fixed mindset, and I decided to to have the battle and really kind of push out the fixed mindset into more of a growth mindset. And I realized that, you know what, I can accomplish this, and I need to accomplish this, and I can do it. And so I returned to the program. And so I think this type of mindset, if I continue, and I'm glad that I've been reading this because I realized my potential, that I can still grow. And you can see here that my goal is by 2019, hopefully at the end of this year, if I calculate everything right, that I should graduate. And then my goal hopefully is at the end of this year, or possibly into 2020, go ahead and take a job, as I'm thinking, as an AP, and then continue to apply the growth mindset. But anyways, this was kind of my idea, my time frame, and what's happened to me. And so I am appreciative of this idea of the growth mindset. And this is my plan, and these are my references, and hopefully you've enjoyed this presentation. Thank you.